Hi there. This presentation has taken a while to come out because I've been giving it some thought, and there's been a few developments since I originally created this chart. Um, this is really about the purpose of so-called mystery schools, of which there are a number in the world existent today and have been throughout time in various forms or another. Maybe they weren't schools, maybe they were more like movements, more like the oral tradition between master and pupil. But nowadays, apparently, schools don't have masters and things like that, really, and dogmas like they used to. I'm not sure that's actually true. I think if you look into it, I think all mystery schools have a master, director of studies, and all mystery schools have dogma because you need a core set of beliefs to make things work. Like, for example, theosophy just doesn't work if you don't believe in reincarnation. There's no point to anything else. There's no point to studying Blavatsky if you don't really believe in reincarnation. So there's a dogma right there there's an assumption that you have to take on board and just believe in, get on with it. Um, but anyway, this is really about mystery schools, and I understand the sort of the operation of mystery schools. When we think of this world, we think basically of action. I mean, I know there's non-action existence in this world as well, but there's also action, and there's thoughtless action, and there's thoughtful action as well as non-action. So there you have a kind of like a triangle of things right there. But it's all existent within the paradigm of dualism and action versus non-action, as it were. But the point about it is that surely in this world we do things to other people and to other entities and to planet, and things are done to us by the planet and by other entities and by other people, and communities do things to each other as well. We know all this, that's no problem. But of course, obviously there are effects of these things that are done to us, and the things that we do to others, positive and negative. And I'm not really going to even get into that in this video because that's a kind of a separate discussion. Suffice to say that, as I say, we act. We are the subject of action, and we are the object of action, to put it grammatically. And the result is that we have things. We build up layers of consequences around us, around the soul, things that have to be redone. So there's a redo. There's a redo set of algorithms that have to be initiated, and there's things that have to be undone. So there's an initiation of algorithms concerned with to undo something or things. And apparently, according to the theory, we need to kind of burn away these layers of things that need redoing and undoing, in order so that our consciousness, which is sort of out here somewhere, can look through all the consequences of things that we've done and things that we've done to others, and look through all the effects, and see the soul within. So you can imagine that this is all like, the sun is the soul is the sun, and these are all the clouds. This is all the water vapor which is surrounding the sun on a dull day. Like today, for example, when I look outside, it's grey because there's a storm, but when in some way, we have to look beyond the things that we are, the things that we've become, the things that we've done. And because you become what you do, kind of thing. So you look beyond the clouds and the water vapor, and you see the sun behind the clouds. That's what I'm saying. Or you get your consciousness above the cloud line, so that you can observe the horizon and the blue sky and the sun, without impediment. And so it seems that the job of the role of the mystery school is to either elevate your consciousness to above the cloud line, or indeed to burn away the clouds that separate you from seeing the sun, that stop you from seeing the sun. And once you've seen your soul, once you've looked in and you've seen it, clear of impediment as it is, and not, because you can imagine that the soul looks like all sorts of different things because the light is distorted through the water vapor, and you can see lots of things like rainbows and grey sky and things and purple skies when it's really stormy and things like that, and you're not seeing soul. Because what you're seeing is just the water vapor. You're seeing the clouds that are obscuring the sun's soul. So you either, as I say, mystery school perhaps has two functions. One, to elevate you to above the cloud line, but you can't sort of remain there for very long and you have to go back down. Or to dissolve the clouds that surround the sun, so that you can see the sun, and the sun, of course, is a metaphor for the soul. So that's kind of like, so you may have to redo a lot of things in your life, and you may have to undo a lot of things in your life. But all this, these processes take place within the sphere of the demiurge, which is the sphere of doing, and largely doing anyway. And even in this sphere of doing, even non-action becomes a form of doing. So, for example, talk about passive aggressive. You're not actually doing anything, or you could be doing something to yourself, but you're affecting other people. So you are doing by non-doing, and all this takes place within within the sphere of the demiurge. Now, one can imagine that within this sphere, a person is seeking truth. They're seeking enlightenment, because they realize that their soul is trapped in this world, and they're seeking a way out. And they hear the word gnosis, and this word excites an emotional response, and even an astral or psychic response within this world. And then they begin to read the Gnostic corpus and begin to absorb the teachings, which then propel them into a need to do something, a need to respond. I mean, it's all very well reading about something, but you've actually got to go out and do it. You can't read about carpentry. You've got to actually go and make a chair. Do you know what I mean? Because only by doing can you actually absorb the knowledge perfectly. You have to apply knowledge. In fact, the 3 degrees of Freemasonry basically is when you receive the knowledge, and then you have to apply the knowledge to your life and to the life of other people if they accept you, and then you take that knowledge further when you become a master. So this is the apprentice. You receive the knowledge. This is the journeyman, where you apply the knowledge to your life and to the life of your community. You get your hands dirty. You have to go out there and learn to behave within a community, within your family. So you're applying what you learnt when you were an apprentice. And then when you become a master, you take that knowledge further. You become creative with that knowledge. And you provide knowledge for other people. You build up a knowledge base for other people to access, you see. So anyway, this is all within the demiurge. So you do need to respond. You do need to do something. You can't just sit passively and read something and not apply it. But this isn't really, and I accept this is all well and good within its limitations. But here's the rub, you see, because what I'm sort of looking for, I suppose, is not so much redoing and undoing and doing. Because I kind of think to myself, that's on a different level to the spiritual. I mean, that's on the level of of cognitive behavior therapy, for example. That's when you redo things and undo things, and you change your beliefs, and you build self-esteem and all that, and I accept that's all well and good, because we need to be in this world, and if we are pulled down by the evil of this world, if we wallow in it, indulge in it, respond to it negatively, I mean, the demiurge does things to us. I mean, to the demiurge, we are collateral damage, we are fodder, we are a means to an end. We are not. We'd have no moral ontology as far as this world is concerned, as far as the demiurge is concerned. But two wrongs don't make a right, so it's no good cursing the demiurge and saying, "I hate you, God," for not preserving me or creating opportunities for me. I mean, normally you curse God because God hasn't served your interest. But you could curse God for not serving your community's interest, or even curse God for for making humanity so appallingly bad. But that doesn't do any good, does it? I mean, that's rubbish. That's just heaping fire on fire. So anyway, what I'm looking for in my personal search is to attain soul consciousness, and I wish to do it through non-doing. So as I said to you, you go into spontaneous introspection, and it is spontaneous because you can't direct introspection. You can't say, well, now today I'm going to try and get soul awareness. It doesn't work like that. There's a huge number of factors involved, which, of course, ironically, are based in the world that we live in now. But when all these factors come together, you could attain soul awareness. But it's done through non-doing. So I'm not doing anything. I'm just sitting in a chair, and I'm just maybe closing my eyes, which you could say is a form of doing. And I'm just going into myself, and I'm just trying, well, not trying, but seeing if I can attain soul awareness. And I you don't do anything. It's all non-doing. You keep on thinking, you keep on saying, no, don't do that. If your mind says do this, you say don't do that. You reject all action altogether. And from this non-action, from this silence, from this still quiet voice of the rejection of action, no, don't do that. You want to do that, but don't do it. Relax when you want to, as the song says. When you want to do things, when you want to come, you relax. Basically, when you want to think, you relax. Hello thought, goodbye thought. So it's a kind of, I suppose, a Buddhist meditation. And from this attainment of soul awareness, you attain basically a focus on the your attention is focused on God rather than the world, which is where the world wants you to focus, of course, because that's where it gets its food from. The demiurge gets its food basically from the focus that we put on it. Okay. It's like, if I say to you, think of a red dot, you immediately think of that red dot. It's like I've almost compelled you to think of that red dot. And I made you put your attention on that red dot, and that's what the demiurge is just basically doing, is making you think of things, so that you're distracted from soul. So of course, this non-doing, this non-action, this it actually reflects and belongs to the sphere of the God, where non-action and non-duality pertain, and rule, basically, or have dominion over. If dominion can be the right word, I'm not sure that it is, but anyway. So your awareness is perhaps, this is a bit like elevating your awareness to above the cloud line, to refer to my previous analogy, that your attention is not on the clouds, but looking beyond and above the cloud line, so that you can see soul and God and heaven from the basis of freedom, rather than being weighed down by things that you cannot see through. Okay, it could be that you really, really can't see through the cloud line. It's really that you can't really see through all the stuff that you've done and all the stuff that's had been done to you. It's all, like, to call it karma, I suppose, consequences of actions, and it's that, you can't really see the wood for the trees. But by putting your attention on God, and on love for God, you elevate yourself beyond the tree line and beyond the cloud line, and perhaps beyond the horizon itself. Actually, ultimately, which you can see the soul. The soul is the sun, but then heaven is beyond the horizon, kind of thing. So I don't really know whether mystery schools do it for me, as it were, because I can see that, all this doing, all this redoing and undoing and doing, and coping with consequences of actions, and and positivity and negativity. I'm not sure that's what I'm seeking. You know, really. I mean, if you're seeking that yourself, if you think that's a great idea, then don't let me stop you. I mean, if you think that you ought to redo things in your life and ought to undo things in your life, and you ought to follow an ethical program. You ought to follow the good in this world. Then that's fine. That's great. I mean, what is the good? What is the good? The good is the good is tell the truth. The good is practice non-harm. The good is to elevate people, to encourage people, to worship people. The aim is, I don't know, I was thinking a bit negative terms, like thou shalt not steal, and thou shalt not put people down, and thou shalt not harm, and there was another one I've completely forgotten. Oh yes, that you should be reliable. You should be a reliable person, and when you promise to do something, you should follow that promise. You should make good on that promise. So all these things. I mean, I'm not saying you shouldn't do these things, even in this world. Yeah, of course you should. But at the same time, or increasingly, you should go into yourself and go into this place of non-action, this place which transcends action, even within yourself, which is the soul within yourself, and that is the bridge that links you to the ineffable, to the heavenly realms, to the realm of God, and you cultivate this introspection, and I think that would be where my focus would be, really, rather than and then, as I say, that's on one level, but of course on another level, I'm not going to be passive about redoing stuff in my life or undoing stuff in my life. I'm certainly going to act on that, but that's a psychological level, and I'm certainly going to be practical in life, and attend to things which need doing, obligations of the householder kind of thing. I'm certainly going to do that, and I'm going to live in the desert. I live in this world, even if I'm not of this world. But at the same time, I'm also going to develop this spiritual side to me, without lust of result, with meaning, with that I don't want this spiritual level to have. It doesn't have to have an effect on me in this life if it doesn't want to. It's really, really quite separate from this world. Which I suppose is the Gnostic view of this world. You are part of it, and yet you're also not part of it at the same time. Anyway, so that's kind of my detailed position on mystery schools, and groups and cults and magical orders, and all this. The whole thing of this, really. I mean, I'm not going to say. I mean, you may say, are you saying that spiritual groups are part of the demiurge? And I think it's much more complicated than that. And I think, I mean, a plant can have a root in the earth, and yet still grow up into the sky. You know what I mean? So I'm not going to be tempted to say something derisive or that spread disunity within the Gnostic community by rejecting Gnostic communities and Gnostic orders and mystery schools and things like that. I'm not going to go down that road of kind of saying you're not good enough, because that's putting people down. And I don't think we're on this earth to put people down. We're on this earth to elevate people and to make people see to absorb a new perspective on life, which is what we're all doing. I mean, when we talk to each other, then we all get different. We all change our perspective because we interact and we exchange information, and we compare data, and we talk about language and nomenclature, and we sort out problems, things that are lost in translation. Do you know what I mean? So, so I'm just saying, I have a kind of yearning for this peace and this simplicity, this quietude, this place of non-action, the voice of the silence, if you like, rather than getting kind of using psychic, magical, astral forces in order to make myself pure. Basically, is what I'm saying. Because if I wish to undo my psychological problems, I will go to a psychological source, a cognitive source, rather than a psychic or an astral source, because I don't fully trust myself to use astral and psychic tools to my own benefit. I'm tempted to use them to self-sabotage, to be perfectly honest with you. And that's been the case up until quite recently. So I don't really want to go back to that if I possibly can. And I mean, you may share my beliefs or not. It really doesn't matter to me. You take what you want from this presentation, as you must from all of my presentations.